This episode is brought to you by the world's first reposado from Tequila Herradura. Made with slow-cooked, hand-harvested agave sealed into oak barrels and aged 11 months. Before being enjoyed in your glass. Experience the world's first reposado, Tequila Herradura. Please drink responsibly. Responsibility.org. Tequila Herradura. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Brown-Forman, Louisville, Kentucky. Herradura is a registered trademark. Copyright 2025 Brown-Forman Corporation.
Welcome back to the Epic Universal Podcast. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and this is the podcast where we cover the latest Universal news, rumors, and history. And as always, I'm joined by Eric Hersey. How many miles did you put on the car? Seriously.
Well, Jim, we just hit 100,000. I was real excited. I missed it, but we were going down. We were at 99, and I'm like, oh, we're going to hit it because it's 1,000 miles there and 1,000 miles back. So we did hit it. We did have the oil changed in time, so we're good to go. So let's see how many more miles we can put on this darn van.
Okay. Wow. All right. But as your bride and I, who, by the way, were recounting the merchandise side of your trip on the I Want That Too that we recorded just last night. All right. So it was 9 parks, 4 hotels. Is that right? Did I get it?
Yes. It was a rough week for all of us, Jim, because there was lots of moving. We got to do all types of stuff. And then we lost a couple, somewhat would say heroes. We lost Ozzy while we were down there. Yeah. We heard the gentleman from the Cosby Show unfortunately passed away. And then we lost Hulk Hogan, and I was darn near in his hometown.
Yeah. Now he passed. Did he pass away in Tampa?
I believe so. I think it was a cardiac arrest. I think it was early in the morning, and my ex and social media just blew up because I follow a lot of wrestling. Obviously, you guys have heard in previous episodes. I'm a pro wrestling fan and have been for a long time. So it was nonstop, and it was crazy because I think we were just. I mean, we've been to Clearwater. We've seen his shops, and obviously he has a pretty big tie to Universal and Disney parks. Yeah,
just before the show gets started here. In fact, we'll toss these into the show notes, I guess. You found an image of Hulk at early Disney-MGM, and then what was it? You found a caricature of Hulk Hogan at the Hard Rock restaurant. The Palm Court? Is that what that's called?
Yeah, well, I'll give credit where credit is due to our friends at Touring Plan. Derek Bergen writes a really nice article, and I was catching his today. And at the very bottom, he did basically a Hulk Hogan tribute. And the photo of Hulk Hogan at MGM is pretty prolific. That's when he jumped to the WCW brand, and he did they drove him down, and he had an official signing to the WCW brand at Disney-MGM, which they did a lot of their TV taping. So that was a big deal, especially when you hear on both ends. That was like a big deal to shoot at Disney. So that was a big deal for him. And then he ended up was working for a company called TNA Impact, which is the challenger brand to WWEF at the time, and they were shooting at Universal Studios in Downstage, I think 19. So he was brought in, and that's why he was. I guess there was a caricature of him and Eric Bischoff and Dixie Carter, which were the 3 main people that were kind of running the promotion at the time. So lots of history, Hulk Hogan at the different parks, and not to mention when they filmed What Thunder in Paradise. All over, and that is so fun to kind of watch some of those and see the different places at Disney.
All true. And by the way, not our only piece of wrestling-related news on this Universal News podcast. But before we get to that, we, of course, have to acknowledge our sponsor, and that is Unlocked Magic. And if you're planning a trip to Universal Orlando or Walt Disney World, check out Unlocked Magic. They offer real discounts, up to 12% off of theme park tickets with over $10 million in ticket savings. Unlocked Magic is the best option for the biggest savings. So visit unlockmagic.com and save today. Now, we were just paying tribute to a real wrestler, but now as we look ahead to Halloween Horror Nights, this is kind of an interesting bend on what the nice folks at the WWE do, right?
Right. And this is kind of interesting because I always wondered, and I wanted to, when Mike Aiello was on the show, I really wanted to say, hey, when are you bringing WWE in? And I'm glad I didn't ask that question because I don't think it was approved, and I might have got a weird face because they must have known about this because I know he's jazzed about it. But this is, I believe, is probably the first integration with WWE and essentially Comcast. Now, I don't know if you were paying attention, but back in the day, there was the WWE Network, which was one of the first like streaming services, and it was just all streaming all the time, and it was really successful. And then they basically kind of went exclusive to Peacock, and that's when we were like, man, the collaboration with WWE and potentially Comcast Universal would be great, and we finally see it now because they just announced the Halloween Horror Nights house, the Horrors of the Wyatt 6. So. Jim, I'm guessing you have not caught Monday Night Raw for quite some time.
It has
Forever.
been, well, no, I mean, I'm not in control of the television here at the house. And, for example, on Monday night for the past 4 weeks, they've been running that, Christmas Cruise, the reality show. It was shot on the second official Hallmark Christmas cruise. And Nancy initially was very upset about this because she was on the inaugural cruise. She was on the first boat, and they didn't get picked to be in the reality series. But then she actually saw the show that they did, which again has been running on Monday nights on Hallmark. And he's like, "Oh God, I'm so glad because it's terrible. It's everything that's bad about reality and Hallmark all on one boat." But anyway, all right. So yes, I'm not catching Raw on Monday nights because the television set on a Hallmark. So what's been going on Raw?
Well, I'll give you a little backstory. There was a gentleman named Bray Wyatt, which was a wrestler. He's a 3rd-generation wrestler, so he's been in his whole family was in the industry, and he was kind of brought up, and we kind of watched him evolve. And his name was essentially he had a character, he had a couple characters, but one of those that caught storm was he was like a leader of like a bayou dwelling cult called the Wyatt family. So he was a very mysterious kind of slow talker, caught the nation. Everyone really loved his act and so forth. And then later he became what they called a split personality and ended up playing 2 characters, which is really interesting. He played like a Mr. Rogers-esque like TV host. And then he had an alter ego that was like a grotesque monster, was kind of like an evil clown called the Fiend. All right, so if you're following me here, yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so and he was very entertaining, and it was great work in and out of the ring. So doing a lot of entertaining stuff. Fortunately, Bray Wyatt passed away in 2023. But his younger brother was a wrestler as well, and his name was Bo Dallas. But he started hinting like to become one of these characters, and deemed Uncle Howdy. And when they ended up paying tribute, and this group came together in 2024, which was called the Wyatt 6, which is, and here's some names, and you guys need to look this up. And it is very, I wouldn't say grotesque, but it's kind of like Leatherface kind of stylized artwork. And they come to the ring dressed very mysterious and weird masks and so forth. So it fits so perfectly. But we have Uncle Howdy, we got a Ramblin' Rabbit, Mercy the Buzzard, Abby the Witch, and Huskus the Pig. But they were all like this branch off of this faction that's all kind of based off this kind of crazy character that Bray Wyatt. So all wrestling fans are very familiar with this group. And the wrestling fans out there are plentiful and diehards, and there is a great overlap between theme park fans and wrestling fans, and they are going to love this house. And we did see a short trailer that they put out there that kind of showed this, but this is going to be a very popular house for sure. So very immersive and very creepy, and I'll have to have you take a look at some of Bray Wyatt's stuff because it was very artsy and very well done. Nice craft, nice costuming, next level pro wrestling stuff there.
Wow. Okay. And I think this means this is the year that we need to get you down here, right? I mean, they're now doing two things that you love. I mean, wrestling and the Universal Parks have come together.
I know. Listen, I think that this would be one that would help me get there. I'd still be kind of terrified because I think meeting any of these people would be terrifying in real life.
Well, just the thing you mentioned about the guests will be stalked by the fiend through the house. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to be chased by a 6'5", 350-pound man. Okay. And dressed as an evil clown. Mm-hmm. But no, this sounds fantastic, and I hope this is the beginning of lots of collaborations. On the wrestling side of the street, I listen all the time. They have a Hall of Fame, and we always say they need a physical Hall of Fame because they have like this Hall of Fame of all the people, but there's no physical Hall of Fame. So Universal, we would love to have a WWE Hall of Fame in City Walk. We can make that happen. It'll be great for all of us wrestling fans. And or please put 1994 Undertaker in Darkmoor. He would fit perfectly.
Oh.
So... Okay. Make this happen, Universal Creative, and you will get a lot of wrestling fans very happy.
Now, that's weird that there is no physical Hall of Fame, no place you can go to for the WWE? Or?
No, not at all. They've had the Hall of Fame. They started in 1993 as Andre the Giant was their first inductee, but it's always been like here's a website with all the Hall of Famers, but they have a huge Hall of Fame ceremony the night before WrestleMania, but there's no place where you can actually see the bust or the actual items. And it would just be it'd be wonderful to say, hey, we're going to go check out the WWE Hall of Fame at City Walk. I think they need to make that happen. Or better yet, just give us an entire land of WWE themed attractions and we'll all be happy there too.
This is so weird. I mean, because I have to tell you, Nancy and I will drive down and visit our friend Flo in Connecticut, or we'll go down to New York and catch a show. And so we're always bombing up 95. And I have to tell you, you drive through Stamford, Connecticut. In fact, that's literally the last place along the water before you make the hard turn and go north. And there's the WWE headquarters right there in Stamford. Big logo on the side of the building. And I'm Googling this as I go, and it does say here that they do not generally offer tours of the public. However, they do behind-the-scenes tours through charity auctions or special events. So we may need to start reaching out here. Again, at the very least, that you do so much hard work for the show and behind the scenes stuff. You deserve fun stuff too. So we should look at this. But again, Stamford, Connecticut.
Yeah, that's the headquarters. Now I don't know if they still have that same building. I think they might have relocated. I haven't paid much attention, but the headquarters were in Stamford. But they also have a performance center down in Central Florida where they have like all.
They do,
and that's yeah, so there's lots of cool stuff, and this won't be the last time I think we talk about wrestling. We've been in many talks of establishing the wonderful stories of how wrestling and theme parks in Florida have mingled. But yeah, lots of fun there, and I'll keep you updated, Jim. You teach me a little bit more about Universal. I'll teach you a little bit about wrestling.
All right, it's a deal. Okay, so now speaking of Halloween Horror Nights, we got news about yet another house. Is that correct?
Well, they teased it. It was like the first house that they teased, but now we actually have a little bit more information. So we are getting a 5 Nights at Freddy's house, and the funny thing is, I'm actually taught most of my information about this from my 8-year-old. So I don't know much about 5 Nights at Freddy's, but this is based off a Blumhouse movie and a video game series.
Yeah, not to further muddy the water, but it's basically Chuck E. Cheese gone horribly wrong.
And they have so there's animatronics that are going to be Freddy Fazbear, which is who Miles dressed up as Halloween a couple years ago, Chica, Bonnie, Foxy, and Mr. Cupcake. So once again, you can be chased around. This is going to be a great Royal Rumble or Survivor Series if they're from these houses from here and the Wyatt Six. It sounds like they are out there to battle each other. There's enough of them out there.
Now, what fascinates me, though, is Universal is actually releasing the second Five Nights at Freddy film, Five Nights at Freddy 2. In fact, I think we got a brand new trailer for that within the last week to 10 days, but that's not debuting till December 5th of this year. And I just kind of surprised. I mean, maybe when we actually get to see the physical house here, we'll see some tie-ins or some teases to the next film. But it's just sort of like, wow. I mean, that seems like low hanging fruit, and typically the folks at NBC Universal and Comcast don't miss a thing. So
yeah. But did you see that, Jim? That all the costumes were created by the Jim Henson Creature Shop.
They do nice work. And
did you see? And they just recently did the D&D at FanFest. They were the one that made
the giant weird floating eyeball octopus thing. So
pretty jazzed about that. I think this is going to be pretty cool. So this is one that I'm definitely going to be looking for. And I mean, lots of houses out there, lots going on. This would be a good year for us to try out Halloween Horror Nights. So.
Okay. Well, tell Laura not to put the suitcases away just yet. Okay, just saying. So
right.
All right. Now, speaking of NBC, you also have news about interesting kind of what looks to be a celebration of Epic Universe.
Yeah, I got questions on this, Jim, because we talked right before vacation that there was going to be a 3-part docuseries on the parks at Peacock, right? And that got delayed out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm and this just got announced. So on August 20th, the Inside Worlds of Epic Universe on NBC at 9 p.m. and streaming the next day on Peacock. And this is hosted by Joe Manganiello, and I looked him up, and he's been in several films. I think he was in Magic Mike and a couple others. So it seems they got an A-list star there doing that. But what do you think, Jim? Why did we cancel the 3-part, and all of a sudden this gets announced?
Well, now, what's kind of intriguing about that is not canceled, but didn't they
delayed,
say
delayed
till later this year? Now, and what's weird, again, this is August 20th, so this is, deep in the doldrums of summer, and it's also not, it's airing, it starts at 9:00 at night, so it's not like, let's put this on and get the kids excited to nag mom and dad to go down to Florida and check out the park. It's an interesting choice, and I have to say I'm also kind of intrigued as to why, though that 3-part documentary, which would, they had been thumping the tub for that for a couple of weeks, if not a couple of months before it was supposed to debut on Peacock. In fact, I literally had it on my work schedule only to look and go, delayed. It's like, it's always one of those moments like, okay, what did somebody from legal...
okay.
Look at that. It's like, okay, because they had it on the schedule. They'd announced it. They'd done PR. Something came up further up the food chain that delayed this.
Well, you know what I'm wondering, Jim? I'm wondering if it's honestly what they're doing is taking the best of the 3 parts, put it together, package it on NBC to try to get some ratings or some type of buzz. So, I'm wondering if there's going to be any different pieces from this show to the 3-part. Are they just going to take the best interview segments, throw it in this, and get some out of NBC, and then still give us something worth watching? Because let's face it, if we already watched the 3-part, why are we going to watch an abbreviated version of it? So maybe it's a little bit of repurposing, so to speak, and hitting a different audience on NBC. I don't know.
But here's the thing. All right, if you look at the calendar, Eric, August 20th is a Wednesday.
Right,
I mean, just literally middle of the week, at 9:00 at night. And it's like, there's nothing about that says we, woohoo, we're very excited about this. On the other hand, let's wait to see what the NBC Universal promotion machine does. I mean, if they're pushing this out on the Today Show, if they're teasing it on the Tonight Show, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe this is more about just getting this out there and then using this to tease that, by the way, if you want to learn more, go over to Peacock. We have a 3-part coming, but...
and pay for it, right? And you pay for it. We get the subscriber nights up. Yeah, no, that's interesting. It's a thought, but hey, I'm always happy for more content. So I hope it's new content more.
It's interesting you say that you're happy for new content, because we just got something interesting over on the streaming platforms, also related to Epic Universe.
Right, yeah. Saw this happen. Celestial Park music dropped on Spotify and Apple, and I think some of the other platforms. Jim, I didn't know they did this kind of thing, and thankfully everyone on X was sharing screenshots. And so I actually was today when I was doing work, I was listening to the soundtrack from Celestial Park.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's beautiful music, but it turns out that overall, now granted, we don't have this out there right now. I don't know if they're going to slowly release it, but the park in general has a score that's 40 hours worth of music from everywhere, right? Yep. And 14 of those are original compositions, as they say. So right now you have 3 listed. So I listened to the Stardust Racers and a couple of the other background music. And then I also found out that you can follow Universal Parks on Spotify, and they have the entire background music for Islands of Adventure.
Yes.
I had no idea.
I was going to bring that up. That was actually one of the cooler collectibles for a while. You know, that I want to say when the park opened, they made it available, and then it kind of sold through. And for a lot of us theme park nerds, it had such a beautiful score, some amazing area music. Not to mention the fact that now, of course, you get things like Merlin Wood that no longer exists.
Yes.
Dueling Dragons and all the music that was done for that.
Yeah.
So it's leaning into their own history, but again, using the new tech or what the kids prefer to use these days to listen to music. So, it'd be interesting to see what gets released going forward here.
Yeah. So I follow the channel, so I'll keep everybody updated when there's new stuff. I do know that they were releasing Darkmoor vinyl or a Dark Universe vinyl.
They were.
Which I believe is all Danny Elfman. And I don't know if that's still out there, but like when I was there in the preview, and certainly this time, I was going to buy any type of vinyl because the heat would immediately turned it into a taco.
Yeah.
So, but that'll be interesting. I'll keep you updated.
Okay. Now speaking of heat and the Universal Epic Universe, you guys were actually down when this fire happened, right?
We were actually in the park. I wish I was looking at the right direction. The Universal buses, anybody that's been following, 2 electric buses that were tagged Universal in the actual parking lot, which is somewhat behind where Dark Universe is, caught fire. And our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and the Eye in the Sky Bioreconstruct seemed to get pictures immediately and showed that basically there were 3 buses at one point. They were able to move 1, but these suckers were charred. Did you get to see this, Jim? Did you check out these pictures?
I did not, but I think what's funny here, if they were in fact behind Dark Universe, and in fact, I forget who it was who shared that amazing video of the, seemingly, the effect they do of the angry villagers carrying torches that then wander up to the windmill restaurant and set fire to it. It's like, how many people in the park is like, oh, that's a lovely effect. Just look at that. Look at how I can smell that smoke. Wow.
Yeah, but that doesn't happen too often. I don't think we know what happened to it, but I did not see the smoke, but I was following the almost minute by minute coverage, and then he gets the pictures the next day where the one bus has been moved. So it's just interesting. I'll be paying attention to see maybe how it started, why it started. Nobody was injured, so that was good.
Okay. And somebody else we rely heavily on in regard to what's going on at the Universal Parks, not just our friend Bioreconstruct, but of course the Permit Princess, Alicia Stella, who also has shared kind of an interesting set of photos, right?
Well, it might even be Bioreconstruct's photos, to be honest. I think she just covered it. So I'd go check out her Orlando Park Shop start.com blog. Wonderful one, because we're talking about the green support spotted behind the Stardust Racer. So Bio was out and he was taking lots of great pictures of the extra expansion pads. And one of them has a bunch of green support beams staged.
It does.
Do you know what this is, Jim? Do you have theories?
Well, I think, it's an Occam's razor situation. I know what people want it to be. For example, they saw the green and said, oh, it's a Shrek thing, or, oh, no, it's the creature from the Black Lagoon thing. And it's like, well, no, it's a bunch of pieces of metal that the exact same size next to a bunch of flats of equal pieces of construction material. And it's like, it's one of the things you do build at theme parks are walls. You don't necessarily see things like the water treatment plant or that sort of thing. I mean, it is, look, BioReconstruct spotted it from the sky. It is the classic image of a lay-down yard for theme park project. You unpack the materials, you put them in easy access form for when you're getting started to fire up your project. But the giveaway is, it's a lot of the same thing over and over and over and over again. This is a wall or that sort of construction material. Now, mind you, I think Ms. Stella has made us aware of a few more permits. There are things definitely coming to Universal, though I would argue the laydown yard that I'm looking for in the next couple of months will be the one for whatever Rip Ride Rocket is being transformed into. I mean, first, big chunks of that coaster will be torn down, and then we will see the newer pieces come in. And more than likely, it'll be closer to Universal Studios Florida. In fact, that was one of the things when I heard that there was construction material in a laydown yard. It's like, oh, wow, the new coaster for Studios Florida, they began to work. But then you look at it like, no. But at the same time, you got to feel for the Shrek fans. They must have been so excited because it's the right color. It's like, oh boy, Shrek attraction is like, no, guys, I'm sorry. But anyway, getting back to now, Alicia did, again, the Permit Princess did find out that there are things definitely under construction inside the park, not a wall outside the park. And but that's restaurants, right?
Well, Phase 2 dining confirmed, 2 permits for an Italian and a Mexican. But that looks to be near the park entrance. So not necessarily sure where that's going to be, if they're already planned locations. I tell you the truth, I didn't really explore too much at the beginning of the front of the park. So I'm not too sure. But but there's also what they call Project 915, which this is what I heard about, which was a multi-purpose backstage structure with a banquet room. And I was thinking maybe that's what this thing was, or at least alluding to. And it's not anything fun because it's just a banquet hall that for people, and I don't know if that's for events, parties, what it could be, but that was a permit that was out. Any idea? Hearing anything like, would that just be like? Is that for like the private dining when they when they book out for corporate events? At least that's what it sounds like it could be.
It does, but the problem is there was the Epic Universe plan prior to COVID, and then there was what we're kind of living with now, and just the notion of, okay, so are these pieces that were held back deliberately kept off the table? But at the same time, occupancy for 3,800 people and offices.
Right.
This could be very unsexy stuff. Oh, welcome to payroll or human resources. We'll tell you what, we'll do a bit more digging, see if there's some blueprints out there, and then maybe we can get a better handle on what this is. But at the same time, there still are really for real expansion plans out there, right?
Yeah, Mark Woodbury all but confirmed in a statement that they are working on stuff. We don't know what it is, but I mean, there are the land is clear. You can see that there's definitely in each area there is something that needs to go on there, and I think we'll probably even allude to that a little bit later when we talk about our experience. That there probably there needs to be a couple more things for us to do.
Well, by the way, if you're interested to learn more about this, I want to say it was the Hollywood Reporter that actually did this piece. They did it while you were away, Eric. I want to say it's when Mickey fought Shrek, and it's literally talks about how these two theme park giants are leaning into their IP. So, going to be interesting. All right. Well, anyway, that brings the tail end of the news segment. And as Eric alluded to, family down there, 9 parks, 4 hotels, and we're going to learn all about the park side of that in a moment. But first, this.
The Nordstrom Anniversary Sale is on now. Shop new arrivals on sale for a limited time from Madewell, Bobbi Brown, New Balance, and more. You'll find tons of deals under $100 on summer-ready fits, plus beauty exclusives from your favorite brands. Nordstrom makes shopping easy in stores, at Nordstrom.com, and on their app. Hurry, prices go up August 4th.
Not all meals are created equal. For instance, breakfast has the spicy egg McMuffin for a limited time, and lunch doesn't. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
All right, so the family climbs in the car. You drive 1,000 miles. You make it all the way, barring a stop over in which of the beaches? Where were you guys
I
for
don't know,
night?
Jim. At the point in time, I don't pay attention to the beaches. I'm not a beach guy. Didn't like it. I did pose with the beach with a Jaws shirt on, so like that was at least was kind of somewhat in Universal in my own head. But yeah, I think we were Daytona Beach for a night.
There we go.
Ended up going over to the Disney property for a while, but we end up doing a lot. I mean, being annual pass holders, we jumped from park to park, so we had plenty of Universal time. But one of the hotel that I was most excited about is we ended up staying at the Terra Luna.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, Lauren was mentioning on I Want That Too that, I mean, you literally could see the park from where you were, right?
Yeah, we had a room that was, I would guess, would be theme park view, and it was on the fourth floor, and it was not obstructed. So you literally looked out of the window and you could see the Starlight Racers going up. You could see all of, I don't think the Burning Blade was running that day, but I mean, you could see pretty much the entire park. So it was beautiful, fun view. And and I don't know a bunch of the hotel room numbers, but this is what, a 750 room resort, and I believe that's kind of on a small end, right? Like from a resort standpoint. Does that sound about right? This is like a smaller one.
Oh, well, yeah. Now, compared to, if we're talking about, what is it? The All-Star, or that's 2,200, 2,800?
Okay. And that's a benefit, Jim, because I'll tell you what, it was quick to get to the actual bus stop right outside, so you didn't have to walk or trek very far. And every time we went to the bus, there was not a huge line because there's not a lot of people there. I mean, at the All-Stars, you might wait, 2 buses sometimes just to get to the Magic Kingdom because you're like already in line and so forth. But this was really, really nice. And it was only a 5-minute bus ride over to Epic. So like if that, so it was quick, easy to get on, didn't take a lot to get there. And then we also traveled to City Walk, and we timed it out. I think that was a 15-minute ride on the bus over to City Walk. So even though, and I think a lot of people were like, well, Epic is all the way over here. What if I want to? It literally doesn't feel like a trek at all. Even if you're at the end of the night and you're one of those tired parents holding a stroller, not sitting 15 minutes, like that is not that bad. So I would not stray away from staying at the Stella Nova or Terra Luna if your primary focus is to go to Island, City Walk, or Universal for that matter.
Okay. So where did we start? Did we do Epic, or were we over at the studios or Islands? Where did we go?
We started off, we did a lot of park hopping, and it's beautiful to do that down there because it's literally just walk across or take the train, the Hogwarts Express. Like we did a lot of that, but we ended up doing, I think, Universal and Islands the first day. And guess what I got to do, Jim? In Islands of Adventure.
Oh, please tell me it involved a winged reptile.
Yes, I did the Pterodon Flyers for the first time, and I was kind of terrified by it because I didn't realize it was so high. Like I was going to tape it, right? I had the phone in my hand and I had a hat in the other, and I'm on this thing and it lets you off. And I'm not a big fan of heights, and I'm like, oh crap, I can't grab onto anything. So I hurried up and tucked my hat between my legs, and my phone immediately dropped because I was going to film the whole thing so I could look at it. But no, it was really fun. We managed to not wait at all because the park, it was lightning. And they shut down everything. And then we went over to Camp Jurassic and just played, and knowing the moment they brought it back up, we could be first in line. So we were actually first in line, so we really didn't wait the treacherous 60 minutes that the entire day was.
Wow, very smart, very smart. And now, speaking of getting on something that's tough to get on, you also dined at a place that, to be honest, is tough to dine at, the Confisco Grille. right?
Well, Jim, that's the thing is we were primarily doing a lot of. There's not as many sit downs at Universal as you would compare to Disney, and I didn't even know this one existed. But we were all starving, and we're kind of we tend to eat Circus McGurkus a lot.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, we've already ate Circus McGurkus. What else can we eat? And we stumbled upon this. I didn't know the Confisco Grille, and it's a really cool theme. They have like props from all of the different lands in there.
They do. And in fact, what's always been frustrating for me, it's a lovely little, as you come through the port city, so to speak, and at the very top of the street, you hang the right to go over to Seuss's Landing. Just to the side here is this sit-down restaurant that, in fact, what makes me crazy is I've been in that space, Eric, more times for media events because, again, the restaurant was not in operation, but they have a lovely upstairs area. They have a beautiful downstairs, and the Universal Parks, when it's like, okay, we're not serving food, and throw the journalists in there. And no, it's a great place to sit and wait and work while you're waiting for someone from Universal Creative to come over. So I'm I'm thrilled that you got in there. And what did you guys have for lunch or dinner? What'd you do?
Oh, listen, everything was great. That's the thing. It was all A+. Like we all, Lauren got maybe a Caesar salad, and I got like some buffalo chicken wrap, and Hunter got some chicken sandwich, and I ate a little bit of everything. It was kind of like trying, but there wasn't a single dish that they served that wasn't like A+ on our behalf, and that's really difficult for us to do. There's 6 of us, and somebody always hates something, and it was like we all were like, our meal was fantastic. So I don't know if that's always the case. I didn't know this place existed, but I was really happy.
That's the thing. It is such a hideaway, and that's the thing. People, by the time they've come all that way through the entry port, they look to one side and there's the Hulk coaster, or they look to the other side and there's all the weird buildings from Seuss's Landing looming, or Potter in the distance, and they're gone. They just run by the restaurant, which is, again, why most times it's closed.
Yeah, and so there was another thing that was normally closed. We talked about it, and I saw the sign, and I immediately had to go. I got to go into the Sinbad's, basically the cool zone that they turned that into. So the essentially it's the entire stage, which we never saw. I never got to see live, but that dang thing looks like they could run it tomorrow. Like it doesn't. It wasn't torn apart or anything. And the cool zone wasn't necessary. It wasn't air conditioned. I was like, well, it's kind of, yes, you have these giant fans. But I'm like, okay, a couple oscillating fans. I don't know if I'd call it a cool zone.
Well, I was about to say, truth in advertising, it's an area that moves hot air around, okay, and you're out of the sun. Right. But on the other hand, how cool that you got to see the set. Because, again, isn't it amazing?
Yes. I would have loved to see it actually done. It looked like it could have been one of like the best stunt shows you'd ever seen. So I'm going to have to watch it on YouTube and just see what it was. But it was nice to see it in the flesh. I did feel like I was seeing something that, at any point in time, they might be able to tear that sucker down. So I was like, anytime I get an opportunity to see something that won't be there in the future, I always take it.
Okay. Now, speaking of sets, when you guys got over to the Universal Studios Florida side, construction is already well underway on Halloween Horror Night, right?
Yeah, there was sets, and this was the first experience for me to see anything like this. We did go last year in July, but they didn't have the stuff out yet. But there were the props, and they were just like stages in the middle of like Hollywood, and they started setting up the Is it the Crooked Street? It's the one with the cats.
Where is that? I'm sorry. I live with a cat lady. I got to find out. All right.
It's right as you exit the Hollywood and as you go towards DreamWorks Land. So is that like the city park, the middle park area?
Yeah, the
right
Central
in front of
Park area. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's right there. And so they started putting up the pillars. They're like, and then the following day I saw it online. They started actually really putting in like pumpkins and stuff in the trees and everything. So those that are going now are actually going to get to see a lot more. But it's cool enough. It wasn't enough of stuff for me to be like, oh, look at this and take pictures. But it was like, oh, they're getting set up for stuff and lots of I don't know what they call it, pardon my dust. So it's coming, and it's coming soon. And we got to kind of see where a lot of the stuff was set up.
Now, speaking of horror-related stuff, we've been fascinated by the face painting thing that's going over in Dark Universe and in Darkmoor. And I think we mentioned just recently that suddenly there's signage up, within the land promoting that. So I want to stress here, this is anecdotal. from your time over in Darkmoor, you didn't see a lot of people with the face paint, right?
Jim, the entire day that I was at Epic, right? So we went from start of the day early, and the thing is with Epic is that they tell you that you should get there at like the early entries with 9, but if you got in there at 8, they were letting you do rides. So that is the hack. Like just get there as soon as you can, and if you're on property, they were letting you do stuff. So I was there pretty much the entire day, all the way until close, and I stayed the entire night. And unfortunately, Miles and I waited for 2 hours for Donkey Kong, so I was there until they kicked us out. I saw a total of 3 people with face painted, and they were all in the same family. So I don't know. And this was a day where it was sold out, which we'll kind of talk about. This was a sold out Friday. I went in there, I looked, there were nobody in the chairs, and the team members were twiddling their thumbs, so to speak. So I'm just speaking of, doesn't seem like there was a lot. I did see a couple kids that looked like they had like pirates, but I think that was like not necessarily pirates, some type of like upper face paint. So maybe that was, but I did see three adults, and they all walked together like they just came out of it. So I don't know. I'd keep an eye on it.
That's disappointing. Now, speaking of which, folks, we're going to get to the real meat of the matter here, because remember, Eric and family were there at Epic Universe during the preview period for the park, and this is them returning to the park after it's been open for 6 weeks, 7 weeks at this point. But we'll get to that part of the story after this ad.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
And we're back, and to be honest, folks, this is the stuff me personally really want to hear, because the notion of it's one thing for, a park to be in preview mode and light crowds and that sort of thing, but where the rubber hits the road is when the place is open and the real paying customers, the folks who flew in from Dayton and got the package and are now staying in the Helios. What is the park like when it's actually fully open to the public? So what did you experience, Eric?
Well, I'll tell you this, Jim. We had a decision to make, and we could have went to Epic on any day, but we started staying at Terra Luna on Friday. So we wanted to utilize the early entry. So we bought a ticket on Friday as opposed to Saturday because we were leaving. So we really had 2 days where we were staying on property that we could get that early access. So we thought Friday would be less busy than a Saturday. Turns out after we bought the tickets, this Friday sold out and the previous Friday sold out. We were talking about like anyone. And by sellout, we talked to the people up front and so forth. Like you couldn't just get a ticket. You had to. It was pretty much at capacity. Now, when we did the preview, that was the first day of the preview. So it was probably one of the more busy previews. It was the first day of annual pass holder previews.
Okay.
But just to give you a real quick rundown of what it was like in April. We did wait, but we pretty much got to do nearly every attraction we wanted. So 8+, Doc, and we got to do Ministry, we got to do Monsters, we got Donkey Kong, Stardust Racers, everything. We did eat multiple places, and the lines were manageable. Like, we would wait, but it wasn't to the point where you look at it and be like, not a chance, right? So we were evangelizing, and you guys can listen to the back catalog where we talk about it. It was like, this is a wonderful park that everybody needs to go there. I don't necessarily change my tune. I still think it's a wonderful park. Everybody needs to go there. But let's just say it was a lot busier. Okay. So this summer, this sold out. We got there immediately. And we were able to get like Mario Kart done and Yoshi and so forth. But it seemed like the attractions, everyone in the park was at 100+ minutes for the majority of the day. Oof. And and I'll be the first to say I'm a theme park diva. I grew up in the theme parks with the Fast Pass Plus, so I'm spoiled to think that there are at least 3 attractions I should never wait for, and my brain just has never adapted to that. But at one point during the day, Yoshi, which, if you're familiar with Yoshi, is not worth waiting 100 minutes, or at least not for me, was at 100-minute wait for Yoshi. And I'm like, oh my goodness, if I was a brand new person and I waited 100 minutes for the Yoshi ride, I'd be pretty mad. And I mean, there were moments and that it was just busy, and this could be one day in July, but I'm thinking it's like the possible out, like the worst, but we did manage to do a lot. Like, we still got to do some of the big attractions, but there are elements that I'm like, all right, this is where I think we should probably talk about maybe, hey, if we can make this park a little bit more enjoyable, what would we do? And a few things that I noticed, there were an opportunity, there were some downtimes, like hiccups went down for multiple times, and we were unfortunately in the line, half an hour waiting, gonna wait another half an hour because it's about 60 minutes, went down, never did come back up. So we bailed, jumped out there. And Stardust Racers, one of the tracks went down. So the wait time pretty much doubled because now you're only running one coaster. So there were some downtime issues, but that's to be expected at every park, no matter where you go. You know, we were at Disney and there was stuff that went down, and that happens. But I noticed there wasn't really a lot of characters out at all.
Yeah. And in fact, I have to say, you know, given the way people talked about like the Isle of Berk and the wonderful, Viking, the cast, or excuse me, the Universal team members dressed as Vikings, and what do they call them? The light darts, the little baby dragons.
We were tipped off that the baby dragons would be coming out at 1:30. We went over there and waited for about 15-20 minutes. Baby never came out, and I'm like, oh man, this is what we wanted to see. Yeah, and they're just like, I didn't see Mario, Luigi, Peach, Invisible Man, Igor. Nobody was out talking, and I know that's not a huge gather, but those take up some like lines, and there wasn't anyone out.
All right, forgive me for asking. Do you remember how were the temperatures? What was the humidity like?
That's what I was going to ask you, Jim. Yeah. It was 90 some degrees, almost like a heat warning. Yeah. And do you think that is what we're like, hey, we're not going to put these guys out there?
That's it, exactly. I mean, the thing is that, think about, you put somebody in that Luigi or Mario outfit, and it just, you have to limit their time on stage. More to the point, you have to live in fear that if it gets so hot, you have a performer faint in that outfit. You now have to take Mario or Luigi backstage and past all of these weeping children who, oh my God, what happened? So it's like, I mean, it could have just been that, what did they call it? I think there's I'm dating myself here, but at Disney, there used to be what they called the wet ball. And just the notion of, if the combination of the humidity reached a certain point, it's like, no, at the very least, the walk-around characters in the costume are not going out. It's just, it's not good quality show because we have to rush them backstage 15 minutes after they come on stage. If anything, it's more frustrating for the guests because it's like, oh, I want my picture. It's like, well, I'm sorry, he's only out here for 15 minutes. So, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think well, I mean, it's all, I wasn't necessarily trying to meet anyone. I mean, I knew Toothless was going to be crazy all day. He was out meeting, Hiccup was out meeting, and but they're under shade, and you did see that they put canopies and so forth out there. But it was a super, super hot day. I mean, the truth about not having enough shade, I don't know how we fixed that, but it was true. There was a moment in time where And I think I figured it out. At least my theory is this, that there is shade. That it's not, we can't say there's no shade. There's certainly shade at different places, but there are long stretches, if you choose to walk, where there is no reprieve. So we chose to go from the Untrainable Dragon, which is on the far side of Burke, and walk all the way to Monsters Unchained, which has you walking through. And that is a long distance and truth be told, there are no shops or like berries that you can just hop in and get a little bit of air or whatever. And by walking that midday, you feel like you're burning up. And the only shade you get during that walk is 2 portals. And they're like real quick.
I mean, I'm sorry, that's like covering a good chunk of, the walkway around World Showcase Lagoon. You're going from that point of the park all the way over to Darkmoor. Oh, God. Well, the weird part of it is, and again, in that Mickey versus Shrek story I was talking about with the Hollywood Reporter, they were talking with, I want to say, Brian Roberts from Comcast, the mothership, so to speak, in the corporate world for NBC Universal and the Universal Experience at Parks. And he was talking about, some of the reporter asked him, well, what do you think of the park or Epic Universe now? And he looked out over the park, and this is the least beautiful it's ever going to look. From this point forward, the trees are going to grow up, and the foliage is going to fill out. And that's a thing that 3-4 years from now, all of those immature trees along the way from Burke over to Darkmoor will have grown up. They will be providing from shade. And also, this is one of the nasty little things of the theme park construction world. The notion is from the people who build the rides that it's like, look, that's our job. We're just supposed to do the rides. All right. When we hand it off to the people who run the park, your job is to then build the shaded queue.
Right.
The places where people get out of the heat into the air conditioning. That's not our job. That's your job. And we will see that sort of stuff happen in the next 2, 3, 4 years at Epic. But that's the thing. Again, you guys went the first couple of months the park's open, and at that point, just think about the number of attractions you described that were experiencing significant downtime middle of the summer.
Yep. And it was, and the thing is, so we still got to do a lot. We did shows, and that is typically my go-to. So I think the difference between because we've been to parks on busy days. We've been to the Magic Kingdom on Easter weekend. It was horrible. I walked in and I'm like, I am absolutely not waiting 75 minutes for Haunted Mansion. I love Haunted Mansion, but to me, that is 30 minutes at max. That's what I'd wait. And same with Hollywood Studios. I think Hollywood Studios has similar in terms of high level attractions that are always busy. Rock and Roller Coaster is always 60 minutes. Slinky Dog's always 75 or so forth. I think the biggest difference right now between a park like Epic and these other two, on busy days, we don't have the guaranteed shows. They have 2 shows where, like at Magic Kingdom, I can guarantee I can do 6 things without waiting. I can do Carousel Progress. I can do the Laugh Floor. I can go in and do Hall of Presidents. I can do Country Bears, Tiki Room, so forth, right? And I just wonder if it might not be the greatest thing in the world, but boy, sometimes it'd be nice if Epic had an extra hey, go in here and watch a preview of a movie. One of those type things. And if that should be something they could consider, because right now, Untrainable Dragon and the Cirque Arcaness, sorry, but it was a great show. Both of those are A+ shows. I loved them, but I'm like, man, if we had 1 or 2 more of those during busy days like that, where we can get in, that would reprieve us from the heat, and it would give us a guaranteed 4 things we could watch. So I think I would be interested if they're looking at shows or animatronic type things.
It hasn't. Alicia, there's permits for at least 1 theater show that I want to say, isn't that over toward Nintendo? That they've got a spot there that evidently they're looking to do the equivalent of what they called them in the business is a black box. The idea is you could stage a show in there, but it's enough of a facility or it's a flexible enough facility that it can be, Here Come the Muppets, and then become the Little Mermaid sit-down show, something like that. Didn't I see premise to that effect?
Listen, if they did, I think they could use a couple of those.
Okay.
I think it would be very helpful because I also travel with someone in their 70s and someone that's 8. The thing is with Epic, I think they have a lot of high, great attractions, e-ticket attractions. But I really do feel like they need a couple little ones that everybody can do and to fill out the day. Because at the end of the day, when you go and Go-Go, our, my mother-in-law is going to do two shows in the Constellation Carousel. And I'm like, we're not necessarily China where we all of us travel, but I know a lot of people that travel with the grandparents, parents, and kids. So I think maybe having some of those might not get everybody all jazzed up and excited, but I would love to have a couple more black boxes. And I would love to see a Nintendo show or something in that aspect. And maybe you could even just throw the characters in there to meet during one of the, hot days.
Also true. Now, and again, I want to stress here, we didn't deliberately time this way, but this is probably a good time to tease who our special guest is on next week's Epic Universal podcast, and it's Brian Kay of Park Lore. And he reached out a couple of weeks ago because he had just done sort of a projection of what Epic Universe could be at full build-out. And what's fascinating about what Brian does is, Brian's a realist. Brian isn't the sort of guy who, yes, everything is going to be $1 billion e-ticket based on an IP that the company doesn't actually use. Brian is the sort of guy, for example, who, when he's looking at year 2 of what's going to be built at a theme park, he bases it on reality. For example, year 2 of Islands of Adventure. You face it, that park opened with Bill Barge and Spider-Man and Dudley Do-Light Ripsaw Falls. And so, you think, more e-tickets for year 2. No, they got flat rides that they could order from vendors who could deliver and have them up for year 2. So that's when they got the Flying Unicorn up in Merlinwood. And that's when they added the Storm flat spinner there in Marvel Superhero Island. So we're going to have Brian on the show to talk about how he does what he does, looking at a park and then deciding what might happen next. And toward that end, though, Eric, I'm going to love to have the two of you comparing notes, because you've just been there and what you just talked about, that, we need some black boxes, we need some places to sit down, we need places to meet the characters and see. But he's already got, and if you want to do some homework out ahead of when Brian comes on the show, he's already got his take on what Epic Universe could be at full build out over there on Park Lore. So check that out and come back next week, and you can hear Erica and I chatting with Brian.
Yeah, and I, again, Epic I recommend it strongly to everyone, but there are some elements, and we know that that's going to happen. At the end of the day, kudos to Universal building this through the pandemic. They didn't chicken out, and I think they announced it 5 years to this day. I think they announced Epic, and they made it happen. But you can't dump it all in one. So we know this stuff's going to happen. But I think from our perspective, I'd still say go experience it. But I would be excited to see kind of what they build that out to. And
absolutely. But just to be clear here, all right, what are your concrete recommendations? Because face it, we're recording this tail end of July. There are still folks who will be going, looking to visit this park, the first summer. So what would you recommend if somebody still wants to get into Epic, coming ahead here?
Well, first off, listen to Len Testa, because Len told us when Lauren sent him a message saying what day we should go, and he said Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and we just said, well, we're not going to go on a Tuesday or Wednesday. We're going to go on a Friday because we're paying. But I think pick a Tuesday or Wednesday to go. Arrive early. If you're staying on property, arrive early as possible. At this point in time, they are checking to see if you stay there, but they are letting you on the attractions right off the get-go. Right? Okay. I would make a list of must-dos that you absolutely and do those first. You're probably not, if it's a busy day like it was for us, you're probably not going to get everything done. I would definitely check to see for the weather. If there is lightning, it's still unfortunate, but they shut down everything except for a few rides. And that means those few rides go bazonk and very difficult to get, but that's at every park. That's not, but if it is like thunderstorm all day, move your day. Just like make that a hotel day. And if you are a completionist, like myself, and you want to get everything done, you're probably not going to get it all done in one day. So you probably should consider trying to buy 2 tickets if that's open and available to you. But once again, still highly recommend. It was obviously, I love an empty theme park. I think to myself, there was an episode of South Park called Cartman Land where he just bought a theme park. And that is my dream.
Yes.
I think of that all the time. Every time I'm in a theme park, I'm like, I would like to get rid of everybody here and just let do. But that's not real. It's not realistic. But I still would recommend, try to find out how you can maximize and eliminate as many people, and obviously bring yourself some sunscreen if it's a hot day, or take a midday break or hop into, we did eat at the steakhouse, Das Steakhouse, and we ate at Mead Hall. And those places were lovely. You could just walk in there and sit if you were hot. So if you do get overheated, it's because you weren't planning well enough. Find a place to go sit down. And those places were real accommodating. Okay. They weren't hassling us when we got hot. So make it happen. But still a lovely trip. And, now I've been doing the show with you for a year and several months, and now I've gone to Universal 4 or 5 times, and I did successfully. Someone asked me what was in this building at Universal proper, and I was able to name everything that was in that building from 1990 on. So I am learning, Jim. I can tell you the old attractions, the Hanna-Barbera, Jimmy Neutron, and now Minions. Like, I know it. Murder, She Wrote building. So for those out there, I can be taught.
Well, there we go. No, you did a great job. Thanks for this week's show. I mean, especially to be able to compare and contrast from, again, first day of the annual pass holder preview to, midsummer on a Friday, blistering hot. But no, that's great advice about going midweek on Monday, Tuesday, and and taking the weather into account. And now, mind you, I don't think I'm actually getting down to Epic Universe. In fact, Shul and I were just talking about this. I think the first time we're going to experience it is during IAPA, during the Attractions Expo, where oddly enough, the world is filled with theme park professionals over there selling their wares in the Orange County Convention Center. And, it'll only be at night, where, in fact, we're kind of counting on there being a couple of private parties where we can get in and explore the land with light, or the park with light crowds. But no, you did a great job. Thank you. And nice to have you back. And like I said, very much looking forward to you and Brian talking next week, because you've been in the park and he's been in the park, and what the two of you have in regard to ideas about what should be done next with Epic Universe. But at that point, folks, I think it's time to shut down this week's show. So, but as always, we love hearing from you guys about the Epic Universal podcast. And if you have any suggestions for future shows or stories you'd like us to cover, please let us know. Where can they find you, Eric, if they want to reach out?
Yeah, Eric Hersey on almost all social platforms. So you can send everything there, and we pretty much, I've responded to everyone, so make it happen. Kill my inbox. But what about you, Jim?
As always, you can find me on X and Instagram as at Jim Hill Media, and over on Facebook at Jim Hill Media News. And all right, so that's going to wrap things up for today, folks. Thanks as always for listening to the Epic Universal podcast, and please stick around to find out what's coming up later on this month on the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to today's episode, and if you like what you heard, head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. This really helps get the word out about our shows. We also have some other shows on the network that you might like. Each week, we drop a brand new Disney dish with Lon Testa. For animation and movie news, please listen to Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor. By the way, you can also check out Drew's other podcasts, like The Fuse, the official Mission Impossible podcast, which he does with Charles Hood. For all things Lucasfilm, why don't you subscribe to Looking at Lucasfilm with Brian Gahn? Likewise, we have I Want That Too with the lovely Lauren Hersey, our weekly podcast that features the latest merch and the stories behind that merch. And our Epic Universal podcast takes a look at the Universal theme park. So please join Eric Hersey and I on that weekly. If you enjoy theme park history, we also host Manufacturing the Magic with Shelley and Noah Valladolid. That podcast tells the story of how we got the modern theme parks that we enjoy today. Join myself, Len Testa, and veteran Imagineer Jim Schul for our latest season of Disney Unpacked, our first ever video series exclusively for Patreon. These get released first Sunday of every month, and each month we release several exclusive podcasts to help support this video series. I want to thank everyone that supports the Jim Hill Media Network. For more information about podcasts and content, head on over to jimhillmedia.com. So that's going to do it for now, folks. Thanks again for listening, and we will catch up on the next show.